game currency has always been something I've overlooked. I'm fine to admit that, as many of you probably haven't given it a thought either. I came about this topic when I was playing Breath of Fire 3. I remember my brother would sometimes watch me, and then when the battle was over, it would say how much zenny, the game's currency, I earned. He would always say something like, "Oh yeah, lots of zenny," because hey, it sounded funny and silly, and I would chuckle too. Now, many years later, and with a job that deals with information, I've tackled some history of game currency names, and my god, it's deeper than you think. I'll start with the one that I've already used, zenny. It's used for multiple Capcom games, and is taken from the term zenny, which were some of the first regularly minted bronze coins in 17th Japanese Tokugawa shogunate. They were modeled after the Chinese Chuan coin. Zenny coins were often round with a square hole in the center. Like, wow. I didn't know something so weird sounding actually had real-life relevance. Another currency that has a similar reference to real life is Valkyria Chronicles ducat currency. The ducat was a gold and silver coin used as a trade coin in Europe from the later Middle Ages until as late as the 20th century. While some currencies have real-life relevance, there is one game which has a unique currency that has a whole backstory to it. This, of course, is the Fallout series and the bottle caps. Some people pass it off as, there was lots of Coke bottles, and therefore it became the currency. To a degree, I suppose so, but did you know that there was more to it than that? Let me read you this description on the Fallout wiki page. In New California, the relative scarcity of bottle caps made them a perfect currency for hub merchants to adopt in the 22nd century, leading to the nickname hub bucks and hub script. Backed by the value of water, the hub merchants supported bottle caps because the technology to manufacture them and paint their surfaces had been mostly lost in the Great War, which limited any counterfeiting efforts. Secondly, there was a limited number of bottle caps, which preserved their value against inflation to some degree. For similar reasons, the East Coast merchants also recognized bottle caps as a currency, although who backs them and guarantees their value is unknown. For a made-up currency, that's pretty awesome thinking and planning on the developer's part. Now, many currencies in games have no meaning at all, or are derived from slang or other words that could, in a way, translate to some form of currency or valued substance. Final Fantasy's Gil currency is a bit hazy in its meaning, but I managed to find something that could make it work. It could be derived from the word gild, which is to coat with gold, gold leaf, or a gold-colored substance, or to give it a bright, pleasing, or specious aspect to. Another example of a strained meaning behind its currency would be our tonelico's leaf currency. While there's nothing set in stone, leaf can be used to indicate a paper money, such as notes or bills, or whatever you want to call your paper money. Now, taking that definition, we move on to Star Ocean's full currency, full meaning leaf. So, seeing as there's a theme going on between these two separate games, I'm more inclined to believe that leaf is slang for some sort of note payment. For some more concrete connections with currency naming, take a look at simoleons in the Sims games. Now yes, it sounds like a play on of the Sims games because it has the word sim in it. You'd be surprised to know, and I was too, that simoleon is actually American slang for dollar in a very small time frame of 1895 to 1900. It only lasted 5 years, but it was enough to get immortalized in a simulation game. Now on to the strange ones. In Suikoden, the currency is called poch, and the only thing I could come up with was this definition. It is an opal that has no play of color and is of no value. It often serves as an excellent dark backing for black opals, which normally have a thin segment of precious opal naturally formed on the poch backing. What's even funnier is that poch is considered inferior quality when compared to opal, which makes the currency kind of crap. Another very strange one that got my brain confused was Legend of Mana. Well, most mana games, and the currency lucre. The definition of lucre does hold meaning about monetary gain, but the additional definition is just interesting. Money, especially when regarded as sordid or distasteful or gained in a dishonorable way. While Legend of Mana does have some dark moments, the overall feel of the game is pretty cheery and colorful. When I learned that they call their currency something horrible and nasty, it makes me wonder if there's any deeper meaning. Lastly, sometimes currency could just be possible translation blunders. There is no better example than the Zelda series and their rupees. Many think that the rupees in Zelda games were supposed to be rubies. However, in Breath of the Wild, rubies are a rare gemstone and have no relation to rupees. But let's say that it might be a translation error. It's easy to do as there are huge similarities between the B and the P characters in Japanese. So it could be intentional, or it could be a minor oversight when reading the Japanese characters. Another fun thing to note is that Spanish versions of the games, rupees are similarly named rupias. In the French versions, they are named rubis, the French word for ruby. So really, who knows what's true and what's not? And so my currency meaning journey has come to a satisfying end. While I had hoped more games had currency Easter eggs, like Wild Arms Gallia, I wasn't able to find things for most games with unique currency names. You got your gold for fantasy games, or gold if you want to be special like the Tales games, credits for sci-fi games, and bits for those that are not quite fantasy and not quite full-blown space adventure. If you discover any more cool facts on game currencies, put them in the comments for people to read, because information and learning is fun.